Alright, what is up, guys? So, it is that time where I read SDF's post and I tell you guys what opinion you should have. Um, but start off with, just he yapped a ton, like a ton of yapping, so you already know it's gonna be a long video. So get your popcorn, get your snack, turn your treadmill on, whatever you do while you're listening, because you know it's gonna be, as he said, it's been a while and it's about to be a while. So, some decent information in here, nothing like, changing like oh, stuff that's coming for the next wipe or anything like that. Mostly just like their thoughts and stuff. Not anything I would say is like or I mean there's some stuff I'd say here that's in like kind of interesting, but not anything crazy important. So if you're looking for something like that, then you don't have to worry about it. I can tell you now. There's not really anything in here that's game changing or relevant now to know. So, with that being said, let's get right into it. So, it's been a while. I've been caught up with various matters and haven't had much time to focus on the kitchen. Today, I'd like to take a moment to share what has happened so far and the conclusions we've reached. First, let me once again summarize the original vision. The original vision is to create a combat environment where parties of various sizes and goals can naturally coexist, where gear does not excessively determine the outcomes of battles, where items function as a means rather than an end, and where time investment leads to a gradual accumulation of wealth rather than overwhelming power growth, ensuring that no one feels hopeless in combat. Coexistence, an environment where parties of different sizes and goals. I mean, this is just the summation, basically, right? Um, and he says, like this, he just reiterates exactly what he just said. And long-term goal, a sustainable game that can be enjoyed for more than 10 years. I would also love that, SDF. In summary, this means building a game where, even within a competitive structure where winners and losers are inevitable, players never feel hopeless in defeat but are instead given the hope to try again, ensuring continuous engagement. On this foundation, the goal is to create a game that can be enjoyed and sustained for more than a decade. This was shared to explain how things have evolved starting from the original vision, not to represent the entirety of our future direction. I mean, this right here, I don't think this is like a bad ideology to have. I'm not saying it's easy to do though, because I mean, I like this right here is very much. I say it all the time. This is very Souls gamey to me, right? Like inevitably like you will die in a Souls game. But the thing is, like whenever you die, it shouldn't be like, oh, I died, I don't want to play this game again. It's like I died, I want to overcome that challenge, right? Problem is in a game like this, it's fundamentally a bit different because dying in this game isn't just like, a loss of like time or like a reset back to a point, which it kind of is, but it's more so like it's a loss of like it's a literal loss of strength, right? Like when you lose gear, you objectively get weaker. I mean, obviously, putting on other kits and everything, but just, take it at face value. Losing like in this game means you lose everything you collected that raid and everything you brought in, which is just a large setback, which a lot of players can't necessarily overcome because it's not like, oh well, eventually I will learn and this won't happen. Like that's always gonna happen. In a game like this, no matter who you are, no matter if you're the best player in the game, you're not, because I'm the best player in the game. But that's beside the point. No matter who you are, you will die and you will lose stuff, and that will just feel bad. So that's why it takes a certain type of player to be able to experience that and keep going. This was shared to explain how things have evolved starting from the original division, not to represent the entirety of our future direction. And I believe that sharing, where am I? Okay, oh, I'm trying to find where I'm at for the thing on my screen because I don't have the. Okay, whatever. Okay, I'm up here. Uh, Here it is. Oh, show. Okay, cool. And I believe that sharing my personal way of thinking with you is the best way to help convey an understanding. To properly address any phenomena or problem, I believe it's essential to first identify and fully understand its root cause, its essence. This is similar to a programmer's mindset. Instead of simply using a piece of complex code left behind by many people out of habit, one seeks to fully understand its structure and then use or improve it correctly. So when I sense whether through intuition or surface level observations, that there may be a problem with this game's foundation or its core, I cannot just leave it as is. I must dig in, analyze, and organize until I can truly convince myself and gain certainty. I believe this attitude is ultimately what gives us the power to create a truly great game. So, don't necessarily disagree with this. I do think there is some merit in not just taking what your predecessors have left before you and using that, and instead trying to pioneer, like, improving, trying to pioneer your own thing. But with that being said, that does not mean it is always good to do this, right? He even says next, that said, this does not mean every element of the game must be 100% perfect. Because on some level, it's, like your objective is to make a good game. Your objective is not to make a perfect game. It's like the game is not 100% perfect, like he just said. So whenever you try to take these systems that have been established and, understand them very intricately and improve on them and make them better, it can take a lot of time and a lot of effort to do that in a way that objectively makes your game worse. Whether it's due to the time constraints being too small, where it takes too long to get stuff done and leaves your game feeling kind of lackluster for a long time while you're trying to work on things. Because yes, on some level, the people do want more content. People do want more things to do, And delivering those things in a good way is correct, but also there is like level of time in today's in today's I mean, I said today's day in today's in the day of now, like today's age. I don't, why does that sound so weird? Today's day and age, it sounds so odd. But in the day and age that we're in, there we go, the day and age that we're in, gamers are very, very, they're not committed, right? Because you don't need to be. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but there are so many games that come out every other day. It's really, really easy to just drop one game to pick up another and play it. And you see that, like, genuinely, if you look now, it happens with like every game that comes out. Every single new big game comes out topping Steam charts. Top five on the Steam charts. Like Battlefield 6, the beta that just came out, 500,000 players. Monster Hunter Wilds, when it came out, I think it had like 300,000 players. Just breaking every kind of record for their game, just because that's what gamers are like now. They will move to whatever the new big thing is. And if your game doesn't keep up with that level of evolution that people are going through and like games are going through, you will inevitably fall behind. And Dark and Darker is in that exact spot right now. They have not been able to do everything fast enough, and they've not been able to deliver fast enough on what players want. And because of that, the game has fallen behind. People are playing other games. They're playing things that are more fun, that update faster, just newer, because that's always some level. Like, there's always some level of no matter what you do, people always go to something else just because it's new, right? That's not abnormal. Um, but yeah, so like having the mindset of I want to understand this and make it better and use it correctly isn't necessarily wrong, but it can very, very easily be a hindrance rather than a boon. That said, this does not mean that every element of the game must be 100% perfect. What I mean is that parts that are truly important must at least surpass a certain critical threshold of quality. That threshold can vary depending on the nature of the game or the element in question. In some cases, 100% completion may be required, while in other cases, 50% may be sufficient. I agree. I don't think this is wrong. What he's saying here, like I said, I think is fair. I think there are a lot of things that, like, not necessarily, like, you have to, like, saying half-ass it sounds wrong, but that's sometimes all you need to do. Like, if you implement a system that isn't necessarily like like, I think the marketplace, for example, right? The marketplace, very, very bare bones, especially when it was first added. The way it is now is different, but it was good for what it was. It would, like, if it is a vast improvement on a current system that is in place, you don't need to get it to 100% completion before you release it. The marketplace, I would say, was maybe not even 50%, but just the iteration that we had added was already such a large improvement on the current system in place. Everybody loved it. Well, I mean, mostly, right? Like, it was pretty universally loved. And now, like, the thing is, like, you can go back later and take your time and to improve it. Like, if you release it at 50%, maybe you update it to 10%, like in a month. And in 3 or 4 months, it's 75%, and so on and so forth until you get it to that 100%. This is the same thing that I think I've had that they've done with classes, right? Would they release a class in a incomplete status, and then later they will finish adding everything to it? Warlock, Bard, both of those classes were done that, and I think that's fine because it just gives immediate content with promises of things to come. Instead of taking a year to make a full class, if you release an unfinished class in like 3 months and then finish releasing it, periodically, it's more content that people are going to experience rather than all at once. It's just a pacing thing, right? Problem recognition. What was the core issue? From the playtest through early access launch and the initial stages of service, we developed rapidly while trying to accommodate a wide range of player requests. In doing so, however, we should have taken more time to deeply understand and resolve the underlying issues. Instead, within the fast-paced development environment, we often chose the easier path, and as a result, additional layers of complexity and problems were created. This is kind of like the band-aid fix. Um, or I guess maybe not. I guess maybe not a band-aid fix, but think of the issue of, like, if there are 3 holes in a boat and you only have 2 hands, right? If you cover 2 holes, the third one spouts water. You move one hand to cover that one, the one you uncovered spouts water. It's when in the process of them fixing quote unquote issues, it always either made other issues arise or fixing whatever they did brought back previous issues. We've seen that for so many times throughout Dark and Darker's lifespan. Just numerous instances. Of course, the biggest issue is that there's simply not enough to do within the game, because there's a lack of diverse ongoing content and in-game goals. Each season ended up repeating a similar gameplay loop. However, I will not be addressing that issue here. I agree. That has been the largest issue for Dark and Darker throughout its entire lifespan, is the gameplay loop gets very, very repetitive very fast. From the first game you load into on Dark and Darker, your objective is technically speaking the exact same as your 10,000th game you load in. Kill mobs, fight players, loot items. That is Dark and Darker. And like I know that's kind of simplifying it down, but it's like the way you go about it, right? Like, oh, I go kill a boss, loot a gold hoard. go down, go kill a boss, loot a gold lord. Like that is Dark and Darker almost to a T, and it always has been. Party type issue feedback. In the trio only playtest environment, solo and duo players found it difficult to enjoy the game. Solo and duo players felt it was unfair to go up against trios. It is. It was also difficult to find people to play with. Final action added solo, duo, and trio options to all maps. This is them what they were talking about initially. Like this is things they've done in the past, right? Gear gap issues feedback. Large gear difference often led to hardcore players slaughtering casual players, making the game difficult to enjoy. Final action introduce up to 5 gear-based matchmaking brackets. Excessive time investment issue feedback. Securing competitive items required excessive time, making it hard for players with limited playtime to compete. With large gear gaps already in place, a low probability of obtaining valid gear due to random modifiers made farming take too long. Even in the trading post, obtaining desired items was cumbersome and time-consuming. As a result, casual players often couldn't keep up with the gear gap and tended to quit. Final action added, introduced up to 5 gear-based matchmaking brackets, adjusted item drop rates, added higher tier shop sale/crafting, and implemented the gem and socket systems. Combat hope issue feedback. In 3v3 situations, losing one member would drastically swing the match, making victory chances extremely low. Like, yes, the thing is, like, this is good. Like, when you're playing a 3v3, like, yes, if one of your teammates dies, you are going to feel it. Because that's how it works. Like, what's the point of having 3 people if one of my teammates die and I don't feel the weakness, right? Like, what's the point of killing somebody if I kill somebody, and, if in a 3v3, if when they die, it doesn't change anything, right? It's like when you lose a player, that is a very large part of your team comp down. Like if you have a cleric and I kill your cleric, that's your heals cut. Like yes, that should be a very very large difference because I either I punish you for making a bad play or I made a good play to kill one of your members and now I have an advantage. Like that makes sense. And playing with teammates who were less skilled or had weaker gear often led to repeated losses, discouraging team play and ultimately shrinking community. I don't agree with that. Adjusted hits to kill, final action. Adjusted hits to kill across weapons and armor. Introduced 200% headshot damage. See, that's the thing about this. This isn't good for me, in my mind. Like, yes, like, does this technically make 2v3ing easier? Yes. Does it also make 3v2ing easier? Yes. All this does is it makes things riskier for everyone. That just means if you're fighting multiple people, then you have way higher potential to instantly get blown up if you get hit by multiple people at the same time. But does it also mean it's easier to kill one person really fast? Yes. But this isn't like a net positive. It's kind of like a net neutral, effectively. This doesn't necessarily benefit anyone. This just makes it so the better player has a higher chance of winning. The problem with that being, though, generally speaking, the better player are going to be the ones that have the advantage already. They're the ones that are now in the 3v2 because they killed your teammate. They're the ones in the better gear because that's how these games work. Better players are usually in better gear. So, and then once again, not always, there are exceptions, but generally speaking, these changes will benefit the better players that are in the better gear, in the better position. That's why things like this aren't good, right? All right. Moving on. Core issue, matchmaking pool fragmentation. Issues 1 to 3 ultimately stem from the demand that players want an environment suited to their own conditions. However, by providing all of these as separate spaces, the matchmaking pools became excessively fragmented, leading to degraded game quality and significantly higher server costs. Yes, this is the queue issue of having too many queues open. Resolution and direction. What did we decide to do? We made many attempts over a long period to resolve the various issues above, but in the process, new core problems kept arising. As a result, we lost confidence that we were truly addressing the fundamental cause of these issues. Ultimately, we decided to simplify each element in order to uncover and focus on the root causes. In addition, with new dungeons on the way, we anticipated that matchmaking pools would only increase further. We judged that hasty fixes would simply cause the same core problems to repeat, so it became clear that we needed to establish a properly consolidated and complete system to prevent this from happening. So, they talk about conclusion here, but I just want to say this. This is exactly what I've mentioned numerous times. Like the map rotation, the solo, duo, trio on each map, all of that only works with 3 maps. The moment the water map is added, the moment the 4th map is added into this, the whole system falls apart. So before they add that map, they have to come up with something that is going to work. Whether it is a 1 map rotation, and what I mean by that is, let's say one day it's Goblin Caves, right? Solo, duo, trio. Next day, Ice Caves, solo, duo, trio. Next day, Crypts, solo, duo, trio. Next day, Water Map, solo, duo, trio. That is one of the only ways that I've come up that genuinely would work. Having all of the maps open doesn't work. Having map rotation on all of the maps does not work. Don't just trust me. It does not work. I don't feel like sitting here getting into explaining all this, but it doesn't work. It's too many queues. Just doesn't fucking work. Conclusion. What did we gain as a result? After simplifying and reviewing each element one by one, we were able to confirm whether each was truly necessary for the game, and if so, to what extent it should be maintained. For example, the conclusion regarding gear differences may seem obvious. If the gap is too large, if the gap is too large, it feels unfair, and if it is too small, players lose their sense of purpose. However, my philosophy as a director is not simply accept such obvious conclusions at face value, but to thoroughly verify them within the actual system. So we tested, what if gear differences did not exist at all? The result was that players lost their motivation to pursue better gear, and the meaning of gameplay itself became diluted. Through this, we confirmed that gear difference is not just an optional element, but a core factor that supports the game itself. The key is not whether it exists or not, but where to set the proper threshold. Party type issue. It is essential to provide an environment where players outside of the trio parties can also enjoy the game. We reviewed the possibility of allowing solo and duo play within a mixed queue, but found it difficult to achieve in a short period of time. And even if possible, it seemed less enjoyable than having a dedicated queue. Therefore, we concluded that in order for solo and duo players to avoid being forced into rat play and to freely enjoy the game, queue separation is essential. Gear gap issue. At first, due to a misanalysis, we perceived gear differences themselves as a problem, but in reality, they were not. If gear differences were eliminated entirely, players would lose their motivation to pursue better gear, and since gear functions as a core progression goal in this game, a certain level of difference was necessary. However, if the gap becomes too wide, it would require too many brackets or create excessive disparities between rarities, causing some groups of players to lose hope. Therefore, it is important to maintain gear differences at a reasonable level. In addition, we determined that in the future, minimal bracket might be necessary to protect new players or to give them a natural sense of progression. I agree. I think all of these are 100% correct. Gear difference is going to happen in the game. It is arguably good for the game because it gives players something to work towards. I don't know about you guys. When I first started the game and I ran into people in insane gear, like Purple's Legendaries, I was like, oh my god, that's so cool. I want that. Right? Like, it's just like I said, it's like when if you start an MMO and you see like a level 60 player, like a super like a max level player, and all their cool looking armor and weapons, and you inspect them and their gear looks sick, and you're like, that's what I want to be. I want to get there. That is what this does. Does it like it feels worse because you die to it? Yes, but at the same time, it's like it gives you a desire to get there. And I will say this: if you don't have that desire, then maybe the game like genre just isn't for you. I mean, maybe I'm wrong in saying that, but that is how I feel in this genuinely. Same thing with the normal minimal bracket. I agree. I think having like a 0 to 24 gear score bracket, I don't think that hurts the game at all. I really don't. Because any of the players that are going to play in that bracket probably aren't playing High Roller. They're probably not playing Norms with good gear on. They are just the Timmies and the new players or the people that are just trying to chill and have a fun time and basically not really like have to try really that hard in the game. And if the alternative is like them not playing or have a spot where they can play semi protected, obviously the protected area is going to be way better. Other than that, I just don't really think there should be gear brackets. I don't think it's necessary, especially not for high roller. But yeah, that's just how I feel. Uh, okay, where are we at? Um, I have no fucking clue. I'm gonna find this shit again. Okay, excessive time investment issue. Initially, due to a misanalysis, we believe excessive time investment itself was the problem, but that was not the case. The essence was ensuring that players with less time to invest could still narrow the gap and enjoy the game without losing hope by providing appropriate support systems. Combat hope issue. The core of the problem was that when players lost, they did not feel I could have won if I had played better, but instead blamed the system. This issue was also connected to gear differences. When the disparity in power was too great, it became nearly impossible to retain hope, and the chance of overcoming such situations through skill alone was too small. So, I mean, fundamentally, I just think this is a bad way of looking at it. Like, I'm just gonna be real with you. When it comes to players, the amount of people that are ever gonna die and be like, I should have played that better, rather than blame some third party, whether it's the game, some system, a class, whatever. It's very, very low. That's just how people are. People don't like taking accountability. People don't like admitting something is their fault. That's just fundamentally how most players are, right? It just is. So, direction going forward. Solo, duo, and trio we fixed as part of the game system, just like normal and high roller. This will apply to all dungeons as long as the player population allows. So, once again, this is something they are saying, right? That if the player population allows for solo, duo, trio to be on every map, it'll do it. And I almost worry about this, but at the same time, genuinely, I don't think this will ever be supported. I don't. I don't know what their estimated player base is to like allow this, but genuinely, I do not think this will ever work on any like ever. No matter how many players this game has, this is just never feasible in my mind. Ever. How it works. At the same time, I don't think having duos in the game is good. I think that's bad. I do. I really do. I don't like duos in the game. I think duos should be removed. Uh, Gear differences will be maintained at a level where players can feel progression and value. While extreme gaps may inevitably determine outcomes, the balance will be adjusted so that normal competitive ranges players do not lose hope. Good. Like that is good. Yes, like if I'm in full legendaries and you're in Squire, the fight shouldn't be close. But if you're in blues and I'm in purples, like yes, you should like the fight you should have a very good fighting chance against me. It should be a skill thing. Right? Like I should have some sort of advantage, but it shouldn't be the deciding factor. To ensure that players with limited time do not give up on keeping up, systems such as sockets and improved item management/trading will be provided to narrow gaps, while reducing repetitive unnecessary time sinks. Good. Even in defeat, players should feel I could have won if I'd played that better. To ensure this, hit to kill adjustments, hitbox compensation, and other methods will be used to guarantee at least a minimal chance for skill to overcome disadvantage. See, now this is something I kind of have an issue with, as I feel like they're going to spend way too much time on this, and it's not going to get anywhere. Like, I think the 200% headshot modifier is one of the worst changes they've ever made for this game, and that is all in the name of what they're talking about here. Matchmaking pools will be kept as minimal as possible to avoid excessive fragmentation of the player base, while still maintaining enough size for the balance is defined to function properly. So it's weird that they say this to me, but then they also say this right here, right? Like these things are completely opposite. Like they do not go together just at all. Lastly, we have gone through many trial and error. We've gone through many trials and errors amidst rapid development and countless experiments. At times, it may have seemed as though we lost direction and we caused instability and confusion for you. However, these processes were necessary to confirm whether each element was truly needed for the game, and if so, to determine to what extent it should be maintained. For me personally, it was a process that had to be undertaken in order to provide this game as a service for more than 10 years. I am truly sorry for the difficulties that has caused you. During the early access period, experiments and justice will continue, but unless there are exceptional circumstances, we will do our utmost to uphold the standards we have now established. Based on these standards, we will shape future changes so that you can enjoy a game in a stable environment where you do not lose hope and can continue to challenge yourselves. Thank you sincerely for your interest and your support for Dark and Darker. So, this pretty much up here, they are just saying, like, hey guys, all those times you thought we were stupid, that was just us doing stuff intentionally. And we're owning up to that, like that we did all this intentionally, which I mean, it's a crazy thing. I wouldn't admit to that shit personally. But yeah, I mean, it looks like based on what they're saying, they have somewhat of a direction they want to go in. Maybe it's more consistent, but it's one of those things. I'll believe it when I see it. Other than that, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'm gonna wrap it up. Catch y'all later. Peace, peace.